This is the geometry dash skill ceiling is not infinite. Now, we've talked a lot on this channel about how I am very optimistic about what the human limit will eventually be in this game. But I'm sure this is another one of those videos where a guy is going to talk about how, like, well, technically, you know, like frames and perfect counters and all this stuff. So let's hear it out.
On August 12th, 2015, Riot verified Bloodbath in what would become a historic moment for the Geometry Dash community.
I don't know what level this is. Day 61, by the way.
My God!
But now, over 10 years later,
I'm going to moan at least that much when I beat Bloodbath.
over 5,000 people have conquered this level, including me, and there are over 700 levels that are harder than it.
Over 5,000 people as of 2 weeks ago? Okay, so I'd still, if I beat it pretty soon, Chad, I'll be in the sub 10K club. That's not bad.
So, what happened to Bloodbath's status? Time. It happens to every
That's been like 10
highly placed
years.
extreme demon. For a good while, it sits high up on the list, and there's a sentiment around it being an incredible achievement that almost nobody can do. But as time passes, more and more levels get verified and released that are harder than it, and
We're jumping to Sonic Wave after Bloodbath, by the way.
as that level drops on the demon list, the sentiment fades. More newer players will get good enough to beat that level, and because the sentiment is
Isn't it so funny how I answered that chatter's question before they even typed it? God, I'm getting good at this streaming thing.
gone, they aren't scared to at least try it out. Combo that with astronomical hardware improvements, and you've got a list that is rapidly changing.
Yep.
With old, legendary levels that used to be seen as the pinnacle of Geometry Dash difficulty rapidly falling down the list. Zodiac.
Like TeejVeen. TeejVeen is probably not even top 1 anymore. At this point of this video, it's probably like top 5.
Almost off the extended list at the time of recording, and probably off of it by the time you're watching this video. Bloodlust, well out of the top 200. And Sonic Wave making its way down the list way quicker than anyone
Yeah, dude, look at that. 350? This level's going to be easy.
could have imagined. Who knows? In 10 years, are we going to be calling Thinking Space 2 an intermediate extreme as it sits at number
Dude, I hope
600
TeejVeen
on
is
the
top
Reddle?
0, bro.
That is the point of this video. Up until now, it may have seemed like everything that I've been saying goes against the title of this video. So just hear me out for a second. But first,
I don't think it does. I think that this is actually a pretty diplomatic title. It feels like it's a very dramatic title, but it actually posits like a very reasonable thing. Because I think, like, to assume that the Geometry Dash skill ceiling or really any skill ceiling in any game is infinite, like, yeah, that's a bit, even as someone like me who's very optimistic about, like, human potential and how we can push limits that otherwise were impossible. Coming from my speedrunning background, there are speedrunning techniques in games that were only, like, performable by TAS, which I forget what TAS stands for, but it's basically, like, inputs that are made by a computer versus actual human inputs. So having that context, I have higher hopes for like just how good humans potentially can get at GD. But yes, tool assisted speedrun. Thank you, chat. But at the same time, I do recognize that like that's not like a forever thing, right? Like you look at the same way, like humans have limitations. For example, the human high jump. Like we can't just sit there and think that a human can high jump eventually if they worked hard enough 50 feet in the air, because there are biological limitations. They're like down to like your musculature, down to like the human genome. There are muscular limitations on how much like force that the human body can generate in order to like jump that high. We're not grasshoppers, right? So from that standpoint, I think that this is perfectly reasonable. I think it's reasonable to point out that the skill ceiling is not infinite. I just don't understand who thinks that it is infinite. Like, I'm not sure who this video is for other than like just to affirm what I feel like everybody already thinks, which is like, we already know that we're going to hit like, you know what an asymptote is, chat? It's like the asymptote I think is like, it's like as close as you can get to infinity without touching infinity. Like the question is like, how close to infinity can we get before we reach the human limit? But I don't think anyone is arguing that like, oh, we can just keep on going forever and ever and ever until it stops. But that's part of like, I've compared it before to like the space race when people were trying to get like rockets into and going to the moon and all that stuff. Like, I think that's part of why people are excited right now. It's because people are pushing that limit and seeing how close again to infinity we can get. And that answer hasn't been solved yet. That answer hasn't been solved. In older, more mature, like speedrunning categories like Super Mario 64, a lot of optimization has come in, and they've already, like, they're pushing much closer to the human limit in that game than a younger game like this.
Let me clarify what I mean when I say the words skill ceiling. When I say those two words, I do not mean the current skill ceiling, meaning the hardest thing achieved in the game, which, as far as I'm concerned, is Thinking Space 2.
Yeah, right. There's a limit to everything. The only thing I argue against is I think people can be very pessimistic about the fact that there even is a limit, so why even try and bother in the first place? That's typically what I push back against. I think emotionally, it's more important to behave as if there were no limits. But obviously, yes, if you want to intellectualize every single thing in your life, there's got to be a limit at some point.
Because I like to go by the main demon list. Nor do I mean the theoretical skill ceiling, because as everyone already knows, that is infinite, because you can always make clicks tighter, make them closer together, obscure vision more. But even when you run out of all
But again, I think obscured vision is not a good difficulty metric.
of those things to make more difficult, you can always make a level longer. What I'm referring to when I say skill ceiling is the realistic skill ceiling that we will reach in Geometry Dash.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad that he specified that. I want to hear about actual skill, not about like these kind of like artificial modifiers that people add sometimes. Look, it's fine if used sparingly, but things like making a level super long or obscuring the player's vision, dishonest gameplay, like those are things that for me as a player who really values like upping my latent skill mechanics in the game, those don't spark joy for me. I feel like when we're talking about the upper echelon of gameplay or potential gameplay in this game, like that's not fun.
And we'll also ignore the fact that at some point the Geometry Dash servers will have to shut down, and I'll give a little related thought.
DD servers shut down? No, Rob Top run infinite. No. Skill ceiling might not be infinite, but Geometry Dash is, right? Right? We get to play always.
On that later. So let's start with hardware. One of the many reasons that Riot was the best Geometry Dash player in the entire world back.
I'm guessing he's going to talk about the fact, like, we watched this in the Bloodbath video we watched several months ago. The switch from 60 hertz to 120 or 144. A lot of players at this time around 2015 were playing at just 60 hertz, and the second everybody upgraded their hardware to like more hertz, they basically like fluked Bloodbath immediately because of the skill boost that gives.
2015 is because
Sorry, a lot of people are going to get caught up in the minutia of me saying skill boost, but like you can see how like playing at like a lower frame rate can kind of give you an artificial skill boost when suddenly you have more frames to work with, right? I know it's not literally a skill boost, but like comparatively, it kind of functions similarly.
He was playing on a 144 hertz monitor, while most other people were playing on 60 hertz. Not only does this change the physics a little bit to make things like straight.
Sorry, I talked about the video before it happened. I just made like a well-informed deduction of what was going to happen based off of prior knowledge. I know a lot of people struggle with that now because of AI. Just for some of the youngins in chat, you can also do that. You can be like, huh, what does this remind me of something I've seen before? Oh, yes, that. And then like that's good for your brain to do that.
Easier, but it also makes it so your clicks are more accurate, since you have to wait less time on average for your clicks to register in-game. And sure, it may not seem like that big of a deal. It's just a few milliseconds. But when you're playing really hard levels that involve things like straight flying or consistency wave, those few milliseconds can add up, making those sections a lot more luck-based.
For sure, bro.
If you're on a low refresh rate. But nowadays, even if you're on a low refresh rate, this problem is extremely easy to solve, because what was previously a mod
between frames?
in Click Between Frames is now an in-game feature in
Not pre-watch, bro. I just got the ball knowledge now.
Click Between Steps, which basically just allows you to click wherever between certain frames and have your click register instantly instead of having to wait until the next frame. The other thing you can improve is your input device itself. Usually, cheaper mice or keyboards make the delay between when you click and when your click registers in the game longer. And this can make it really annoying to try to pull off hard timings. But now, with things like the Seo device, which I use by the way, it's a lot cheaper to get a device that can make your clicks register almost instantaneously. But where do we go from here? Because the only reason frames still matter is because on a higher refresh rate, your game will look smoother, which does make it slightly easier to pull off hard timings. But the more frames you have, the more you need to gain in order to make a noticeable difference. So I personally feel like we are reaching a limit in terms of hardware, which means we can no longer say that levels can get harder because hardware can get better. So it's all up to the players now. Which brings me back to my question. At some point, are we going to be calling Thinking Space 2 an intermediate extreme? Well, it sits lower than any of us can imagine right now.
I don't think we'd ever call something like Thinking Space 2 intermediate, because that would imply that, like, right now, things that are like at around like 350, like Sonic Wave, those would be considered. I mean, maybe I don't like, dude. I think like the amount of time you still have to sink into the game to get to the level of Thinking Space 2, like, I don't think that changes, right? Just because the upper limit changes, I don't think that changes the relativity of like new player versus the new limit. I think it just adds on top of itself. Like, I think naturally, maybe like emotionally, players are going to think that Thinking Space 2 is more baby mode comparatively when a top one is like way beyond it. But I would say that on paper, we shouldn't look at it that way. I think that's a bit of a fallacy to assume it that way. I think it's a fallacy a lot of people participate in when they're just like, there are some people who earnestly are just like, dude, Bloodbath's an easy level. What a baby level. Like, some people say that to troll, but some people say it in earnest. And it's like, bro, it's like, it's still a very hard level. Just because a few hundred levels are harder than it now does not take away the fact that it is hard.
Right now. Because the thing is, with
especially relative to like a new player playing the game,
each new top one that gets verified, beating the top one becomes more and more inaccessible. And at a certain point, levels will get so ridiculously, absurdly, impossibly difficult that nobody will even want to verify a top one.
I mean, some people would argue that we're already there because like a very select small group of people are the only ones that are going for verifying these levels, right? Like, it's not like it's already gone down a lot. Like, I feel like the days of like super open verifications where like everybody's just trying to verify the new top level, like those days are behind us.
Even if it means sacrificing the fame and glory that you get from it, it's not a matter of how hard we can make levels. It's a matter of when are we just not going to want to beat them anymore. Now, when do I think this is going to happen? I do not think that we will reach Geometry Dash's realistic skill ceiling for a good long while. In fact, I even think that it is a very real possibility that the Geometry Dash servers get shut down before we can even reach that. I saw someone's video claiming that Grief was going to be the permanent top one, which I just think is outright untrue. No disrespect to the creator.
No, I mean that's just I think that's just bait. Like, I think that was just some guy randomly saying some stuff. Like, I haven't heard that as an actual opinion that anyone has said. I think that this guy, like, that was just some random guy saying something. Maybe it was bait, maybe it wasn't, but that it's crazy to say in earnest Grief is going to be the permanent top one. That had to be bait, bro.
I mean, the editing was great and it was an entertaining video, but it claimed that since Doggy was taking so many attempts on Grief, that meant that it was so much harder than anything we've ever accomplished before, which is true, and that nothing could be harder, which is not true, because obviously we have multiple top ones being verified right now.
Yeah, that's like a dumb, like, okay, so that was a creator who actually, sorry, I haven't seen the video, so I can say it fully removed from it. That's a dumbass conclusion to make. That's like, the whole idea of human innovation is that like, the current present moment is just innovating upon what has already occurred. That would be like someone way back, like in like the freaking caveman times, someone makes the wheel and they're just like, wow, we have the wheel now. We've finished human innovation. There's nowhere further to go from here. Meanwhile, here we are on the other side of industrialism, all this other innovation that the wheel was just like the impetus, or not the impetus, the initiator for. And it's like, it's very easy to have that kind of bias as a person to look at the present moment and just assume that you're at the center of it. But it's like, no, bro, that's so narrow-minded and just like naive to be like, this is it. It's like, no, bro, you're falling into, I think there's even a term for it, but you're falling into the thing that humans do where we assume that the time period we're living in is like the most the most substantial and the most critical period in all of human history.
With most notably Heliopolis, Sweeping Demon 2, Cosmos Unleashed, of course, Grief, Society, Vehemence, and you could even count levels like Angelicide and Eternus. And the majority of these levels have significant progress already made on them, which tells me that Grief will not be the end. The only reason Doogie is taking so many attempts to verify Grief is because you have to remember, it's a jump from Acheron for him. And of course, a jump of that insane magnitude is gonna take a lot of attempts. Anyways, back to when do I think...
I mean, also level's just hard, isn't it? I don't even like, I think it's just, level's hard. But just because a level's hard doesn't mean another level can't be harder and that harder level can't be beaten. It's really that simple, right?
We will reach the skill ceiling. I think we will get well past levels like Eternus. I mean, why wouldn't we? We've seen so many examples in the past, like most notably Silent Clubstep, where levels have been considered just
it's 2.1 Acheron harder
or nearly impossible, and then someone has always been insane enough to do it. And
yeah, I mean, this is what I've argued every time. Every time I have someone cynical in my chat of just like, the impossible level list, I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I get how on paper, don't get me wrong, like I'm not someone who thinks that every single level is possible, but like you would be fooling yourself to think that levels that are considered impossible right now might not be beaten at some point, because we literally have historical data again. I'm always going to take it back to that anthropological standpoint of like looking at what we've already observed in history, which is like we had things that we didn't think were possible. For example, constructing a wheel that we could attach to a cart so we can roll a cart around and carry a bunch of stuff on it. There was a time where we thought that that was impossible, but we innovated and we figured out how to do it.
That's exactly what will happen with Eternus. Yes, the level does have a
Draw parallels in life. Fuck!
160 FPS ship frame perfect. Yes, it does have a 2-second long wave section that's harder than beating the entirety of Bloodlust, but someone will do it. There are already so many determined people who are making some pretty notable progress on the level. I think that we will hit the skill ceiling once levels start to reach around 10 to 20 240 FPS frame perfects. And I know that frame perfects aren't the best way of judging a level's difficulty.
That's what folks say.
You gotta understand the thing with these kinds of clicks. 240 FPS frame perfects are so ridiculously hard that they're basically luck-based. Even a really, really good Geometry Dash player will probably only be able to pass a 240 FPS frame perfect maybe like 20% of the time.
Nah, I'd win.
I have no citation on this. I'm just completely making this up. But once you have that many 240 FPS frame perfects, the odds of any one attempt getting through all of them becomes so low that, like, nobody's even gonna want to try. Because, sure, you can train yourself to get really good at timings, but because we're humans and we're not perfect, we don't have control over those last few milliseconds.
And this game isn't perfectly optimized, so you'll get the old Rob Top, my game just stuttered and just destroyed everything. So if you're playing a level with like a bunch of 240 frame counters and you just get the old Rob Top lag spike, like that's honestly probably the biggest obstacle to being able to beat these higher difficulty levels.
That if you wanted to do 240s consistently, you would have to gain control over. But I think for sure we will not get past 20 240 FPS frame perfects. At that point, it's just so insane that, like, even the most insane of insane people will not want to go for a level like that. So, do I think that we will hit a...
Sorry, you said the most insane of insane people, so I wanted to show you guys what that looks like in case you needed a little more context.
Skill ceiling in this game? Yes. But do we have to worry about hitting it soon? No. I don't think we'll have to worry about hitting the Geometry Dash skill ceiling for a good long while. Assuming Geometry Dash still stays relevant, I would give it more than 2 decades, honestly. And I could be completely wrong about this. After all, this is just entirely speculation, but it's fun to think about. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support me, subscribing is a great way to do that. And I also stream, so if you want to watch me beat cool levels and do random crap, then I would love to see more people join. See you next time.
Well, that was a freaking pretty good video, man, and I think that he was very diplomatic about his approach. He was very like, he kept it open-ended, and he wasn't very overly opinionated or judgmental. I thought that was a very that was a good react. That was fun. Y'all know I get passionate about specifically with this, just because, like, again, like, I get it. I get that, yes, it's not infinite. I just, like, I don't know what the value is of bringing that up outside of just, like, people. A lot of people are going to see, like, a video like this, unfortunately. And I'm not like, this is not a hit towards the creator. This is a great video. But my fear is that people are going to see this and they're going to be like, oh yeah, the skill ceiling's not infinite. Why bother? Like, they're going, like, there are people and there are GD players who, like, use this and they find it as, like, a point of fact of just like, yeah, but, like, the game, like, you can't even, like, keep getting good at it, so why even try in the first place? And that's, like, that's what I don't like. I feel like people are really good at coming up with reasons to just give up on their goals and their ambitions. And I think that if you're using this of, like, the skill ceiling of the game I'm playing, like, eventually has a limit to it, like, that's where, like, and I'm sure some people listening right now are just like, what are you talking about? Who are these people? It's like, dude, I see them in my chat every day. I see them in my chat every day. Just so, like, downtrodden individuals who just, like, they use points like this to support, like, why they're bummed out about the game they play. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I just want to say, great video. I think it's lovely. And I do think that it is correct that we are not going to reach infinity when it comes to a new skill ceiling in Geometry Dash. However, keep on working on the levels you're playing. Keep on working on a new hardest. It's not about it's not about reaching infinity. It's about how long it takes us to get as close to it as possible and what we learn along the way. That's it. So keep on doing your grind. It still has meaning. It still has meaning, even if there's an eventual end of the rainbow that we're going to reach. Also, there's a link in the description to join the Discord. Go to the Discord, go to the React to this Teach channel, drop a video you want me to react to, fire react to other videos that other people have dropped, because that's how I know that I should watch it. React. Take care of yourselves in the meantime. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Did you like that? Don't even pretend like you didn't. You made it that far in the video. Well, did you know that I stream Monday through Friday on Twitch and YouTube, and you could catch me live and get to be a part of the experience when it happens? Also, if you don't care about that, or otherwise you want to see more of the video that you just watched, link in the description to watch the full VOD. Do that, please. I have a black eye because I play basketball sometimes. Bye. Oh,